Okay, this is Friday, January 8th. We're going to be doing math, Worktext page 167, 168, and then math reviews 165, 166. We've been learning about fractions, and so far we've been doing shapes that were divided up into sections, and according to how much of that shape you had, you've made a fraction out of it. You can also do fraction of a set, right? So I have in my hand a set of bugs. I'm trying to figure out a way so I can show them to you. Let me lay them on a book. Yep, that book's not good. Well, let's lay them on a paper on a book so that I can turn them. You know what? I'm going to have to do this. Turn the camera. That's what I can do. So, pause just a moment while I turn the camera down so you can see. Alright, so we're going to look at these bugs. Okay, so I have several bugs on my thing. So we could take and we could look at these bugs. Make sure I have all of them in the camera view as a color. Okay, so first of all, let's count and see how many bugs I have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bugs here. All right, so 6 bugs, and if you were to count them, that would mean 6 would be your denominator, right? All right, so let's say I wanted to know what fraction of the bugs are blue, right? So then you would count 1, 2, 3 were blue, so that would be your numerator. 3/6 of the bugs are blue, okay? Let's say I want to know what fraction of the bugs are caterpillars. Not caterpillars, I'm sorry, grasshoppers. These are grasshoppers. So if I said what fraction are grasshoppers, well, there's 2 grasshoppers, so your denominator is still going to be 6 because there's 6 total bugs, and then 2 would be your numerator. 2/6 of them are grasshoppers. What if I said what fraction of them are red? Well, there's only one that's red. There's still 6 bugs, so 1/6 is red. 1/6 would be yellow, 1/6 would be green, okay? What if I said, please take 1/3 of my bugs? Oh, 1/3 of 6. What you're going to do is you're going to divide by your denominator. What's the denominator in 1/3? 3. 6 bugs divided by 3. 3/6. So that means I'm going to take 2 of the bugs. 1/3 of 6 is 2. All right, so that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so go ahead and take your paper, and I want you to look at the top of your paper. And I'm going to move the camera back up where you can see my face. Okay. All right, so on page 165, look at the top section and you see some hearts. All right, so there are pink hearts and there are red hearts. If you count all the hearts, there's 6 hearts. Okay, so that's your denominator. They said what fraction of the set is red? Well, there's 2 red hearts, so the fraction that are red is 2/6. If you look again at the hearts and they say what fraction is pink, well, there's 4 pink hearts. Still the denominator is going to be 6 because there's 6 total hearts. Remember, the denominator is all the parts. All right, so that's 6, and 4/6 would be the pink hearts. So 2/6 of the hearts are red hearts, and 4/6 of the hearts are pink hearts. Okay, so that's pretty easy. That's not what I did the second time when I was saying 1/3 of a set. That was something different. In fact, it looks like we're not even doing that today. That's what we're going to do tomorrow. But anyway, at least you got a preview of the 2 different ways to look at it when it's not a shape you're talking about, but a group of objects. Okay, so you're finding fractions of a set. All right, so let's look first of all at number 1. It says, what fraction of the children have their eyes open? So the first thing we need to do is figure out our denominator, the number that's on the bottom. All the children. How many is all the children? 5. Very good. So denominator at the bottom, underneath that line. Ever see that orange box that has a line right in the middle? Put the denominator underneath the lines. Put a 5. Now we're going to figure out our numerator. The numerator is children that have their eyes opened. So how many children in that little set of children have their eyes opened? 2. So your 2 is your numerator. So what fraction have their eyes opened? 2/5. Very good. 2/5. All right, now move over to number 2 where you see some apples. And they're asking what fraction of the apples have stems. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is count all the apples so we can find out our denominator. 8. Very good. So put a denominator underneath the line. Remember, they already have your fraction line. You don't have to do it. You just put an 8 underneath the line in that orange box. And then above the line, you'll put your numerator, which is the part that have stems. So how many have stems? If you count it carefully, it was 7. So what fraction have stems? 7/8. 7 out of 8 have stems. So 7/8 have stems. All right, now move to the papers. This is a time when you might want your red pen because it says that 2/3 of the papers earned an A. So since I usually write your grade with a red pen, over on the edge of the 2 of the papers, 2 out of 3. So you see there's 3 papers. So that's how they got their denominator of 3. And 2 of these papers need you to put an A on it. So take your red colored pencil or your red pen and put an A on 2 of those papers at the top of the paper. The other paper, you get to choose what grade they got. You can give them a B or a C or a D, or you can give them an F if you're feeling like it. But 2 of them got an A. So 2/3. So there are 3 papers. That's where their denominator of 3 came from. And 2 of the 3 papers need an A. So put an A on 2 of those papers. Please do it with a red pen or a red colored pencil. And if you need to pause the video to get one, then do so. All right. Then it says 5/5 of the balloons have strings. All right. So if 5/5, that means 5 out of 5, doesn't it? So all 5 of those balloons should have a string. So you just need to draw. You can use your regular pencil or a black colored pencil and give them a string. Actually, you can make it be any colored string you want, I guess. So just give all of them a string hanging off the bottom of the balloon. All right, as soon as you're finished that, let's go on to the next section. That picture below the balloon is what you're going to be looking at, and it says how many vehicles are there. So that's all of the vehicles. So count all of them. I'll give you a moment to count them. All right, you should have came up with 10 though. Okay, so on that line after number 5, just put 10. So that means 10 is our denominator. Okay, when we make these fractions, 10 will be our denominator. So what fraction of the vehicles are trucks? So that's going to be the numerator to go with that 10 as our denominator. How many trucks are there? 2. So 2/10. Circle that 2/10. The other answer was 8/10. Circle the 2/10. Okay, because that's what fraction of those vehicles are trucks. 2/10 of the vehicles are trucks. All right, then they ask you how many cars are there. So this means you're not counting the trucks anymore. You're just counting the cars. Well, we just found out there were 2 trucks. So 10 minus 2 is 8. Very good. It should be 8. So on the line for number 7, how many cars are there? You should be put at 8. So now this next question is just about cars. So since there's only 8 cars, our new denominator is going to be 8 this time. Because they're just asking us about the cars. So we're changing our denominator. And they want to know what fraction of the cars are red. So just look at the cars and count how many cars are red. You should have come up with 4, so that means our numerator is 4. Our denominator will be 8 because there's 8 total cars. So you should be circling 4 8s. 4 8s. And as soon as you've done that, turn your paper over to the back. All right, so we're talking about the fraction that names the red part. Okay, so first we're looking at the leaves. First we need the total number of leaves. How many leaves do you see on number 1? 4. Very good. So you're going to put 4 as your denominator. It actually says total leaves by where you're supposed to be putting the 4. Your denominator goes under the line. Remember, denominator's down, numerator's up. All right, now the numerator is going to be the red leaves. How many red leaves are there? 3. Very good. So 3/4 of the leaves are red. That's the fraction for it. All right, moving on to the group of flowers, a vase of flowers. They want to know the fraction that is red. So, first of all, you need the denominator, the total number of flowers. Count all the flowers. It should have been 7. So your denominator is 7. So where it says total flowers, you should be putting a 7. And how many are red? 2. So that fraction would be 2/7. 2/7 of those flowers are red. All right, let's look on at the fruit now. All right, this is number 3. Our denominator is all the fruit. So count all the fruit. Should be 5. So our denominator is 5. And of that fruit, the part that is red, just 1. So 1/5 of the fruit is red. Very good. All right, number 4 is shirts. The total number of shirts is 3. Very good. So 3 is your denominator. So put it where it says total shirts. And of those shirts, how many are red? 2. Very good. So what fraction is red? 2/3. 2/3. All right, you're going to need a brown colored pencil, okay, because you're going to make chocolate chips. It says 3/5 of the cookies have chocolate chips. So you need a brown colored pencil so you can put chocolate chips on 3/5 of the cookies. If you look, you'll see there's 5 cookies total. Do all of them get chocolate chips? No, just 3 of them. 3 out of the 5 need chocolate chips. Please put more than 1 chocolate chip on each cookie. You don't usually just have 1 chocolate chip on a cookie. So put several brown dots all over the 3 of the cookies, because 3/5 of the cookies need chocolate chips. So 3 out of the 5 cookies. That means you don't do anything to 2 of them. All right, now move on to the sundaes. If you need to pause because you're not doing your chocolate chip done with your chocolate chips, then pause the video. Okay? But if you're done with the chocolate chips, we're going on to number 6, where you're going to do 3/3 of the sundaes have a cherry. Well, I see 3 sundaes, and they want them all to have a cherry because it says 3/3. So all of them have a cherry. So just take your red again, which you used to do a grade, and give each of those a cherry. You can do a cherry with a stem, or you can just do a cherry. So put a cherry on top of the sundae. All right. As soon as you're done with that, we're going on to the next thing. So pause me if you need to. Number 7, we're looking at the picture of the toys on the bed. It says, what fraction of the toys are bears? All right, well, what is the denominator going to be? 4, because there are 4 toys laying on that bed. What fraction is bears? 2. So that would be 2/4. Very good. 2/4 of the toys are bears. Then they switch it up and they say, what fraction of the toys are dolls? Well, what's your denominator going to be? It's still going to be 4, because there's still 4 toys. And what fraction is a doll? Just 1. So 1/4 is a doll. So where it said what fraction of the toys are bears, you should have circled 2/4. Where it said what fraction of the toys are dolls, you should have circled 1/4. All right, the next thing you're going to do is give me the value of the underlined digit. All right, so in that first problem, they have underlined the 8. So you need to start over at the ones. You say ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. That 8 is in the 10,000s. So what is that 8 worth? 80,000. That's what you should be writing on the line. 80,000. And when you hear that word thousand, that's where you're going to put the comma. So 80, comma, and 3 more zeros. All right, then the next one is the 7 that's underlined. So start over at the 6. That's the ones, the tens, the hundreds. The 7 is in the 1,000s. So that 7 is worth 7,000, right? You remember doing these now? It's been a long time. So 7, comma, and 3 zeros. All right, the next one, the number that's underlined is the 6. So again, start at the 5. The 5 is the ones, then the tens, and that 6 is in the hundreds. So that is just 600. The next thing you need to do is write those numbers. They are in word form, and you are to write them in number form, standard form. Okay, 5,369. Remember, when you hear that word thousand, that's where the comma goes. And 62,108. 108. Don't get tricked up by that. 108. There's something missing. You need to put a 0 where the thing is missing. 108. Don't let it trick you up. All right. If you are finished with that, we're going to do the second paper. And if you need to pause me because you're not, then pause me. But we are going to do the front of the part of a set. All right, this is shaded. It's not really colored. There is a part where you're going to need to color, so you will need colored pencils. Let's just look at the top of the paper. Part of a set, it says what fraction of the set is shaded. So first of all the apples would be 8. That's your total apples, and 5 of them are shaded. They're talking about what's shaded gray. So how many are gray? 5. So that's 5/8 that's shaded. And what part is unshaded? That would be 3. There are 3 white ones. So 3/8 is unshaded. All right, this is what we were doing on the other page. All right, so let's look at, first of all, number 1, the doors. What fraction of the doors are open? Well, what's our denominator going to be? How many doors are there? 5. Very good. So put a 5 for your denominator. What fraction's open? 2. So what fraction is that? 2/5. Very good. All right, now let's look at the next. It's pots. What fraction of the pots have flowers? Well, what's our denominator? How many pots are there? 4. Very good. So put a 4 for your denominator. Denominator is on the bottom. And then how many have flowers? 3. Very good. So 3/4 of the pots have flowers. All right. Now you need that colored pencil again because it says 2/5 of the circles are colored. All right. Well, if you look at the circles, there are 5 of them. That's how they got their denominator. And you need to color 2 of them. 2/5 are colored. So 2 out of the 5 are colored. You can color any color you want to, but color 2 of the circles so that you're coloring 2/5 of the circles. Then it says 3/8 of the cherries are colored. So you move over to the cherries and you see that there are 8. That's where their denominator came from, and you need to color 3 of them. Very good. So color 3 of the cherries. It does not matter which ones. Just color 3 of them. All right. Give you a moment and let's look at that picture. You're going to use the picture to answer the question. What fraction of the boats have oars in them? Now they show you a picture of an oar so you know what an oar is. First of all, we need the denominator. How many boats do you see? 3. So you should put a 3 right beside the oar on the bottom underneath the line where your denominator goes. Put a 3. And what fraction actually have oars? Just one of them. In the picture, only one of them. So 1/3 of the boats have oars in them. All right, then they ask you a different question. They say, what fraction of the trees are pine trees? And they actually show you a picture of what they're talking about for a pine tree, just in case you don't know what a pine tree is. But to figure out a denominator, we have to count all the trees, whether it's a pine tree or not. So if you count all the trees, go ahead and do that. I hope you came up with 9. 9 is the correct answer, okay? I'm not going to tell you how many pine trees there are yet, but there are 2 trees that are not pine trees, and then the rest of them are pine trees. So 9. Now, go back and count just the pine trees, and it should have been 7. Very good. So 7/9 of the trees are pine trees. 2/9 are not pine trees, but they didn't ask that, did they? All right, turn your paper over, and I'm just going to talk to you about it a little bit. I know we discussed whether or not to bring home our rulers, and I'm pretty sure we decided that yes, it was a good idea, just in case you had measuring on your paper, and look at that, you do. All right, so I'm going to remind you, remember, you're going to start at the edge of your ruler, wherever it starts, and the numbers are where the line is, and then there's a number, and then don't forget, in between is a half, right? So this, you're going to need to know this because there is a time they tell you just to do a 1/2 inch. This is 1. So this middle line in front of it is a 1/2 inch. Okay? So make sure you're at the middle line in front of the one for if you're just going to draw, because they tell you to draw a line that's only a 1/2 inch long. So you'd start at the edge of your ruler. Remember, be stronger than your ruler. Hold your ruler still. Make a mark where you're going to stop and draw a line that's just 1/2 inch long. All right. And for that one that's 4.5, make sure you go all the way to the 4, and then halfway between the 4 and the 5 is going to be 4.5, right? Don't forget that. First, they do want you to estimate though, so don't measure it on those lines at the top. Don't measure them first. You need to estimate, guess, make a guess how many inches, and also make sure you're using the inches where your numbers are far apart. Mine does not have centimeters on it. Oh yeah, it does. It has it on the other side. So don't be using, actually that's inches again. Sorry, mine has inches on both sides. I don't have centimeters on this ruler. This is just totally an inches ruler. Yours has inches and centimeters, so make sure you're using where the numbers are farther apart. That's your inches. So you are going to do that. Don't forget to write greater than, less than, or equal to. So you need to remember 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, 36 inches in a yard. You may need to know some of that. And at the bottom, mark the better estimate. They don't give you a picture. They just tell you the height of a man, the length of a car, etc. But this has to do with length. All right, see you next. Remember, I'm not doing a new video for language. You can go back and watch the video that I made for Thursday and Friday, because you're just continuing to work on your book report. And I told you that it was penmanship time that you were also working on it, but also I noticed I gave you time for in there during the reading time, where you've been reading the book report, to be writing on the book report. So make sure you work on that book report.